Hi, my name is Mark David Gerson, and I'm here today to talk to you about writing and creativity. If you want to know more about me and my work, please visit my website at www.markdavidgerson.com. That's Mark David Gerson, all one word, .com. How do we respond to criticism? How do we respond to rejection? How do we respond when someone doesn't like our work? How do we respond when someone really doesn't like our work? The answer to that question really is the same as how do we respond to praise. Because both praise and criticism can throw us off center in terms of our approach to ourselves and our work. And really the most important thing in our creative life, and maybe in our life outside our creative life, is to hold our center, to know who we are, to recognize the power of ourselves and of our work, and not to be pulled in one way or the other way by rejection or criticism on one side or by praise on the other. There's a story I'm very fond of, and it's a story of the children's writer, young adult writer, Madeleine LEngle. She wrote, many of you may be familiar with, A Wrinkle in Time and those books. She's also written adult fiction and non-fiction memoir and books on creativity and spirituality. And she's very much a favorite of mine. If you know The Wrinkle in Time, it's a kid's classic. It came out in the 60s and it won the Newbery Prize, which is the premier award for children's literature in America. What many people don't know is that when she submitted A Wrinkle in Time, it was rejected by 26 publishers over 2 years. That's 26 publishers over 2 years. That's more than one rejection a month over a 2-year period. Enough to really drag anybody down. And it did. It did drag Madeleine LEngle down. And she was interviewed as saying at one point that in the midst of all that, she covered her typewriter, went downstairs and said, "That's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm not a writer." She goes into the kitchen, she starts preparing some food, and as she is working in the kitchen, an idea comes to her. And she runs back upstairs to the typewriter and starts typing, and suddenly realizes that she's a writer, and that it doesn't matter whether she's ever published again. It doesn't matter if anyone ever likes A Wrinkle in Time. It doesn't matter what happens, but that she's a writer, and she must write. And I think that's such a powerful lesson, particularly as A Wrinkle in Time ended up being published. It sold tens of millions of copies. It's been translated into dozens of languages. And as I said, it won the Newbery Medal, and it's still in print, and still being enjoyed by both young adults and adults. And in fact, one of the reasons that it was not accepted immediately is because I don't believe she'd ever written young adult fiction before. She wasn't writing this as young adult fiction. She was writing the story that had to come through her. And she honored that and wrote the story, and no one knew what to do with it because it was ahead of its time. And it took 2 years for the world to catch up with Madeleine LEngle and A Wrinkle in Time. But it did. And as I say, the story, the book, and the sequels to that book and that series have become classics. So when we're rejected, when we're criticized, we have to not look outside, but look inside. Who am I as a writer? Who am I as a human being? And does that depend on what someone else thinks or says? And the same is true with praise. Who am I as a human being? What do I know about myself as a human being and as a writer? And it's wonderful to get praise. It's wonderful to be validated, just as much as it's disturbing for the reverse to happen. But ultimately, it's who am I here within my heart? Can I trust that? Can I believe that? Can I know that? Regardless of what's going on outside and around me. And so when we do receive praise, when we are recognized and successful, it's still important to hold that center point within ourselves, to come from the heart regardless, and to know who we are as creators, who we are as human beings, and not let ourselves be pulled here and pulled there, and to be true to ourselves, to be true to our art, to be true to our craft, to be true to our creativity. And that's certainly what I try to do, both in terms of the rejection, and I've had my share, and in terms of the success, which I've had my share as well. And so, as you go out into the world with your work, hold your center point within you. Know who you are, and you'll be fine. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark David Gerson. If you want to know more about me and my work, please visit my website at www.markdavidgerson.com. You can contact me on that site through that site as well, and share your stories about writing and creativity, your experiences. You can also use that name, Mark David Gerson, all one word, to find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Have a wonderful, inspiring day and a creative one. Thanks for watching.